You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the impact of electricity in ensuring a thriving economy cannot be overemphasized. But over the years, the Nigerian electricity sector has suffered from factors such as inadequate infrastructure, inefficient legal and regulatory framework, and limited private sector participation. To tackle these challenges, the Nigerian government has set up a comprehensive reform plan to address key issues related to the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. Now, following the constitutional amendments, the enactment of the Electricity Act 2023 is to address all issues pertaining to electricity in the country and ensure a sustainable future in the Nigerian power sector. All right, with us in the studio is a team lead Platforms Africa, Adeola Yusuf. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
My pleasure.
Great.
Good morning.
Great. And we also have joining us on Zoom, Professor of Energy Electricity Law, University of Lagos, Professor Yemioke. Professor, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me.
Great. All right. Now, let me start from the studio here. Adeola, the past government under President Muhammadu Buhari had, in his constitutional amendment removed power as one of the items from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, which now gives powers to states to even begin to get involved with generating their own or making arrangements for their own sources of energy and so on. And a lot of persons were happy with that regard, as much as there was the issue of would the states have the resources, to get involved. But a lot of persons said, of course, lay the foundation first and others can follow. Was that the beginning of the new, or do we see that as the beginning of new energy availability and affordability and all of that in the country?
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have a number of people that are happy with that move. But if we have more number of people understand the nitty-gritty of what happened, we have more number of people being happy with what has just happened. That is to say that the Nigerian electricity sector is one that generates interest from a lot of Nigerians, but it's one of the poorly understood even by Nigerians. You will understand that even up, before now. During campaign, even councillors will go to his area during campaign and say, I'm going to generate electricity. And people, applaud that. Governors, a lot of them, people are now getting to understand that generation of electricity, transmission and distribution of electricity goes beyond donation of transformers, to people. So it's a beautiful step by the government of former President Muhammad Buhari, and a beautiful one by the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But it's very important that I note this. That has started, it will be 10 years by November this year, when on Friday, November 1st, 2013, there was that deregulation of the power sector. Everyone, became aware when the asset of the then power holding company of Nigeria was sold into new investors, and we call them discos. So it has started from then, and people like us have been clamoring for, because we understand that one of the cardinals, when we're talking of the problems that the Nigerian electricity industry is facing, is the monopolization of that sector. I'll explain. There is a law preceding this one that we have now, that if you are able to generate 1 megawatt, you must send that, or 10 megawatts, you must send that, or close to 100 megawatts, you must send that to the national grid. And the way the distribution will be done will now depend, from the control center, will now depend on the politics. Okay, a certain area must, have electricity, whether they need it or not. From the survey done years ago, it showed clearly that Lagos alone needs, over 10,000 megawatts. And what Lagos is getting is less than 1,000 megawatts in most cases. So there are some areas that they do not, if you want to look at it very well, they do not need this electricity. But based on the is it national character you call it now? You must
federal character.
Federal character. You must give electricity to certain people. So, but now this new act has been able to demonopolize the Nigerian electricity generation. And what people have been told about this is that, okay, state governments will now begin to generate electricity. But I want to say that it is far beyond that. Though that is one of the cardinals, but there are 5, cardinals, major cardinals to this electricity act that if a lot of Nigerians are, aware of, you know that move is so applaudable.
All right, we'll get you to break down these cardinals, but in the meantime, let's go. Okay, let's stick with you. I think we're having issues now connecting with Professor Okay. Some people have also, wondered what the dispensation will be like, state by state, how much sanity it will bring to the system. Mike spoke about capacity of states. Some states are stronger financially than the others. So where does this really leave consumers?
Okay, thank you very much. The first major concern of every consumer is supply. Then followed by proper measurement, which is metering. But you will agree with me that even where they don't have grid connection, they generate electricity by themselves. You see is it 1 kVA generating set everywhere. All the SMEs depend on that. So that is clearly to show you that the major concern of every consumer is supply. Now, having said that, what this act is going to do majorly for states is not only about infrastructural deficit alone. It's about preparedness of states. Now, you will agree with me that part of the cardinals, I'll get there when the question is asked, is to make sure that NEC ceases to, intervene, quote and unquote, in power regulation in states where they have, appropriation already, laws already for that power. And I'll tell you, let me shock you, that out of the 36 states that we have in Nigeria, only 3 states have regulation for electricity as we speak now. And the 3 states are Lagos State, Kaduna, and Edo State. So what this will mean is that NEC will continue to, see to the day-to-day regulation of electricity in those states until they have their law. So that will tell you that even before you put infrastructure on ground, you have to put the legal framework on ground. So this, act is going to, spring up competition. It's going to spring up, a lot of, things that will eventually generate or guarantee the supply need of every customer.
Right.
As it is, we have heard, although, of course, it's not founded, but it is very prominent on the streets when we hear that, there is sabotage in the electricity or energy system, especially by those who import generators and those who are involved in that sense, to ensure that the power generation and all of that doesn't work for their business. Of course, it's not founded, but we hear all of these. But talk to us with this law coming up upstream now. If you go to somewhere like Oshodi or Alaba International Market, where there's heavy business presence, you see, in fact, sometimes you're working with someone. If you're speaking, you have to scream for them to hear you because of the sounds of generators all over the place. Will this be able to get rid of all of these generators that are all over the place?
Okay. First of all, let me quickly raise a caveat. And that is not to give Nigerians that sense of it's going to happen immediately.
Okay.
Okay. Now, having said that, it is important that we talk about the 5 cardinals at this point so that everyone will understand that, okay, aside from talking about state generating electricity, there are more to it. The first one that this act, has come to guarantee is what I've just spoken about earlier, the demonopolization of the power generation.
So more players are coming in.
More players are given the leeway to come in. So, and that is, giving the state even the opportunity Unlike before, everything is within the one basket by the federal government. Like I said earlier, even if you generate a certain number of megawatts, there is a law, that law 2005 said that you have to send it to the national grid. But now that has been demonopolized. You can, on your own as state, generate electricity. Not only generate electricity, you can transmit that electricity and you can distribute that electricity. Let me, quickly say why that is important. Like what happened during the Berlin conference, Nigeria as a country has been compartmentalized, has been shared among 11 distribution companies. So your house, you and your house, you are a property of a certain disco. What that means is that another disco cannot come to your area to supply electricity without the permission of that disco you are under which your area is shared. So it is that serious. I wouldn't want to say that was. But now, what this has come to do now is that, okay, that monopolization that, okay, if you cannot get to meet a certain disco, you cannot generate electricity, you cannot distribute electricity, you cannot transmit electricity, that has gone. That's number one. Then number two, we are talking about the power of NEC now, that, okay, NEC will not, interfere where there is a law, a domesticated law in a certain, state. So, like I said earlier, it's only Lagos, Kaduna, and Edo, that have laws now. So, what this is going to tell us is that other states too, there is going to be that competition, healthy competition. If by the end of a 4 year in a state, the state governor is able to say that, okay, we have been able to generate certain megawatts, it is going to, bring up the consciousness of people in other states to ask that, okay, our governor, what have you been doing? So that is the second one. The third one is the role of lawmakers. Okay, so there is going to be that oversight function by lawmakers, the Committee on Electricity now, on what is happening. So what that means is that as a constituent, you can meet your legislator and say, okay, we are having certain problem in our area. That one will be able to ventilate that. Unlike before that, they have no role as to what is happening in the NESI, that is Nigerian electricity supply, industry. Then the next one, which is the fourth one, is the renewable energy. Now, the world is moving green, is going green. This act has mandated all the power generating companies to now begin to generate, certain megawatts of electricity from renewable source. That is to show that the journey to renewable has to start now. It's important that I say it for the benefit of Nigerians that, the major way we generate electricity is through thermal, is through gas. And the world is moving away from that, because they have tagged it, dirty fuel and, based on its threat to the environment. But now, Nigeria is about to now start that journey. So they have put it as part of that law that if you are generating all the GenCos, generation companies, must start generating, little by little from renewable energy sources. Then the next one, which is to answer the question that Mike asked earlier, is the citizen role. It has given the citizen the responsibility now, unlike before. You can generate up to 1 megawatt, even as an estate, as a community, you can generate, transmit, and distribute within that area. Unlike before that, you dare not do that because there is no law backing you to that. If you do that, a certain disco can sue your estate or sue your community to court. You could see that even estates are being compelled to sign an agreement with discos, to now, up distribution or supply of electricity to them. But now, they can on their own, set up a plant, generate that electricity, transmit and distribute within that area. Okay. So a market that have the capacity to do that can do that, on their own. Estate that have the capacity, and an individual can do that on his or our own. So those are the 5 cardinals of this, act.
All right, we'll come back to this. We were having challenges with the signals from Professor Oke, but we hope to rectify that as we get along. You're watching TVC Breakfast. We'll be right back after this break. All right, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and on this segment, we're looking at the Electricity Regulation Act that has been, passed into law in Nigeria, and a lot of people and businesses and individuals are looking forward to a new horizon, looking at improvement in electricity and energy administration generally. And in the studio, we have the team lead of Platforms Africa, Adeola Yusuf, here in the studio. And joining us via Zoom is Professor of Electricity and Energy and Electricity Law from the University of Lagos, Professor Yemi Oke. All right, Professor, we've been having challenges reaching him all the while. Kemi, yeah.
It's good to reconnect with you again, Professor Oke. A lot has been said in the studio here by our guest about his feelings regarding this new electricity law. But how much of a game changer is it for you, Prof?
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians. For me, the new Electricity Act is long overdue. It's been almost 20 years of consistent regulatory framework that we need to drive the power sector in Nigeria. Thankfully, we are having one now. We had a law that was essentially meant to reform the power sector. And that was why by its nomenclature, it was Electric Power Sector Reform Act. Now, done reforming, we now clamor for a law to operationalize the power sector. We now need a proper electricity act that looks at where now we have one. Clearly, there is the current act newly signed is not a perfect law. But it's giving us a piece of document that we can work with as a nation. It's giving us a comprehensive legal framework.
Okay, thank you.
For the first time, it says the law is about generation, transmission, system operation, distribution, supply, trading, enforcement of consumer rights and obligation, and other provisions. So, the law, in terms of structure, brings about holistic, integrated
Okay. All right, Professor, we seem to still have challenge with the signal from where you are, but I'm afraid due to that, because we're not able to get everything you're saying, so I'm really sorry that we may have to end that part of things here, but we will find a time to have you in the studio, then we can discuss this proper so we can get benefit from your wealth of knowledge in this regard. Really sorry about that, Professor Yemioke. All right. Now, some time ago, under President Buhari, there was a contract signed between Nigeria and Siemens of Germany, and that's in the minds of how it was communicated was to help in the infrastructure, the backbone that you mentioned when we started this. I wonder how that is going now, though.
Okay, it's important it's important to say that, okay, that deal between Nigeria and Siemens has been in the coffin since, but it was giving some kind of, strength and energy during the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. We remember his chief of staff this time around, Kyari, that died as a result of COVID-19. We heard that he went to Germany, to cement that deal before that.
A government-to-government deal.
Yeah, before that, unfortunately. So that is to show that the government is, really making efforts. A number of times I've said it, that we cannot rule it out efforts. We cannot rule out efforts that government has been putting into place to ensure that we have electricity. Only that, what we have on ground is so small to the number of Nigerians that that is growing, every day. So the you could see that even the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari was able to change Minister of Power on 3 occasions. You remember when it started with Babatunde Raji Fashola, combining 3 ministries, including the Ministry of Power. Then he changed him, during his second term into Salim Maman. Then he has to ask Maman to go, before another, minister, was put in place. So that is to show that government on its own is even, trying its best. But it's important that I say this now. Is power sector, our power supply, what we see in our house by the time we switch on, the bulb, goes beyond switching on the bulb. For Nigerians to understand and for us to clearly understand why we are still having delays in, actualizing a lot of things that government has been putting in place. It is a sector, it's a value chain that has 3, strata. The first one being the generation. That generation is done, by the companies that they call them GenCos, generation companies, through thermal, through gas, through hydro, and all that. By the time they generate, what they generate, immediately must be used. If it is not used, it becomes a waste. Then, the transmission now takes it off from there. You could see from various homes or various areas, those skeletally looking, masts. Those ones are the one that takes the power based on the volume, and the megawatt they are to the distribution, and the distribution companies are the ones that will now interfere.
Okay. All right. Now we look forward to how these is going to change. Like you said, Nigerians just want to switch on the switch and there's lights. That's all.
It's all about supply.
The engineering and the physics of it, nobody wants to know. Just do that. So long as they're paying their taxes to handle their obligation. Thank you so much, Adeola Yusuf, for coming on the program. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. And we also thank Professor Yemi Oke, who we couldn't really have a good time with him on the program due to signals from where he is.